organisers of the three-union meetings say they were disappointed with the turnout, but they said that despite the poor attendance, the feeling of the meeting was strong.
Well, the meeting voted unanimously to accept the $52 wages severance pay agreement negotiated this week. It also voted unanimously to commence a campaign to improve workers' compensation for the building industry workers.
The building industry workers say that while they agree with the federal government's cutbacks, they believe that because of the dangerous nature of their work, that they deserve special consideration.
As I mentioned, there are miners, maritime workers, already have provisions that are in excess of the blanket cover. Now, we are simply saying that in terms of the building industry members, we believe they've got a special case which can be demonstrated, and if there's going to be a general reduction in the blanket cover, then we believe that another exemption should be made for building industry workers.
What will happen if the government decides?
Problems first arose with the tour when the Northern Federation said they could not officially sanction it as the Newcastle Amateur Soccer Association was not affiliated. The association was not affiliated because it had expressed a vote of no confidence in the Northern Federation. Because of this, it was feared the Newcastle under-13 and under-14 sides might not have any teams to play against. However, the controlling body, the Northern Soccer Federation, has decided to give the tour the green light, provided a number of conditions are met. The Newcastle Association says two of these conditions are not acceptable.
To our dismay, we find in the Newcastle Morning Herald a report that the name of the tour has now been changed or proposed to be changed, and that the tour will be under the control of the coaches and managers of those teams, which are totally unacceptable to this association. It will be a Newcastle Amateur Soccer Association tour, and the tour will be controlled by our two tour leaders.
President of the Northern New South Wales Soccer Federation, David Williams, says despite all the conditions not being adhered to, the Federation will not stop the tour going ahead.
We were formally
After 4 years of wrangling with road planners, some of the residents of Wallsend have become experts at analysing environmental impact statements. Geography lecturer at the CAE and spokesman for the Wallsend residents group, Ken Scott, has learned through bitter experience what the jargon means. He says because Thomas and Cowper streets are crossed by other important roads, that many traffic lights and roundabouts need to be installed. And with many heavy trucks using those roads, that means problems.
As soon as you put 11 traffic control things like roundabouts, which are very good in their place, and traffic lights in, say, 4 kilometres of road, and you know that cars hauling caravans, interstate trucks, heavy haulage vehicles taking coal to washeries and so on, all of these are going to be stopping and working their way through that system, then it's inevitable that you'll get an increase in noise and the pollutants that go with that, with changing gears, greater exhaust fumes and so on.
While the residents are concerned about their quality of life, shopkeepers say their livelihoods may be in jeopardy. Retailers in Wallsend are concerned because they say with the upgrading of Cowper and Thomas streets that the access to the shopping centre will be reduced. They say if shoppers can't easily get into Nelson Street, they'll simply shop somewhere else. The Electricity Commission is the only statutory authority to voice objections in the EIS. It will have to relocate its Newcastle to Waratah line on County Route 17. This old railway corridor behind Cameron Street and Wilkinson Avenue is where the DMR wants to build the 4-lane extension of Cowper Street to the proposed State Highway 23. While concerned about the relocation of this line, the Commission says that discussions with the DMR are underway to try to find a solution.
was a lucky escape for the female passenger of the Chimera. Not so lucky for her 62-year-old husband, who was driving the vehicle south along the Nelson Bay Road when it collided head-on with a Toyota Camry. The 48-year-old Nelson Bay driver of the Camry was also killed instantly. Police say the injured 59-year-old female passenger lived with her husband in Harbord, north of Sydney. She was flown by the Westpac Rescue helicopter in a critical condition to the Royal Newcastle Hospital, suffering head and internal injuries, a fractured right arm and leg. Witnesses say the Toyota Camry was travelling on the wrong side of the road when the cars collided. The Accident Investigation Squad will continue its inquiry today.
The site for the younger folk is currently occupied by the Marketown Shopping Centre. The old stadium stood for about 40 years and saw not only boxing, but professional wrestling and its latter days rock concerts featuring local and visiting stars of the time. The boxer who was remembered today, and rightly so, was the late and great Dave Sands, just one of the Ritchie family of Kempsey originally that made its name in the Hempen Square. Dave was the best of them, a real class fighter. Died aged 26 in a road accident near Dungog. He was the British Empire middleweight champion, the Australian middle light heavy and heavyweight champion, plus the light heavyweight Australasian champion. He had 108 fights, plenty more than the modern day pro, won 100 and was stopped only once on a technical knockout with a cut eye. The only surviving of the Sands boys, Clem, he's the eldest, was there with nephew Alfie. But in the gathering, some of the faces of the past. You could tell, I guess, from the noses, those who'd gloved it for what was a pittance in the old days. But in the Depression years, a necessary shilling or two on which to exist.
Not long after the Williamtown Air Base Mirage was ditched, the Federal Department of Defence contracted the Perth-based Oceaneering Group to locate the multi-million-dollar jet. During April, a side-scan sonar device was towed behind a trawler. It works like an echo sounder with a printout of the sea bottom showing up objects on the sea floor. Navigator Gary Hall says out of the 20 possible locations detected, there are 3 that could be the Mirage.
There are characteristics in that record when it was modelled dimensionally, which indicated to be the size of what we are looking for, and that's why we're here with the camera to clearly identify that particular target that we have got and to identify what it is.
You are confident that it is the Mirage?
We're confident in that one, yes.
Using the Dora Creek trawler Sea Rambler 2 as a survey vessel, searchers are now waiting for calmer weather to put their remote-operated mini-sub into action. Controlled from the surface, the Australian-made Super Seacat is similar to the one used to locate the cruise liner Titanic in the Atlantic Ocean.
Controlled from the surface via a console, which has a video monitor incorporated in that, and the camera picture from the vehicle is sent up via an umbilical and is also controlled that way.
And the searchers believe the Mirage is 10 kilometres east-southeast of the Port Stephens Lighthouse in 120 metres of water and are crossing their fingers for the winds and seas to abate.
The Falcons went in warm favourites, even though the Devils outfit contained such stars as Steve Carfino, an all-star 5-player of last year, and Paul Stanley, who had blitzed them last year with the Melbourne side. And the predictions of the entertaining match and a good win by the Birds looked like coming true. At times the home team led by 10 to 11 points, but when they did, they seemed to lose interest in defence and allowed the hungry Tasmanians back into it. The Falcons were convincing everyone in the first half that lack of intensity in defence was just a memory, however sad, of 2 weeks back. Then, as if the water had been poisoned by some sleet from the deep south, the second half was quite different, with a lack of numbers problem under the boards, a lack of real commitment on the full-time basis, and some sloppy passing that handed the ball to an eager Hobart team. In the long run, Paul Stanley proved to be more than a handful, while home team gun player Wayne McDaniel was by far our best. Without him, they will simply not be competitive in this high-class competition.
For many years it was thought that portraiture was a dying art form, that the camera had sounded its death knell. But a 7-day workshop being held at the Von Berto Galleries shows clearly that both still life painting and portraiture are thriving. In the gallery's intimate environment, 12 students are being taken through the rigours of these art forms. Led by Archibald Prize winner Joshua Smith and well-known artist Eve Close, they are taking students through the elements of tone, colour and design.
Some of them come here with very different ideas, that they're into line drawing and not thinking of tone and not thinking of trying to create on a flat surface a third dimension. And we encourage them to try and create on a flat surface a third dimensional picture, whether it be still life or portraiture.
Hi kids, this is Henry. Have you met Henry before? Yes, of course you have. Everybody's met Henry. Henry goes to America, and when he goes to America he thinks he's a big eagle. How about that? Then, when he goes to America we have to smuggle him through customs. Oh, Henry, he doesn't want to go through customs today. Well, when he goes through customs, sometimes we do this to him. We go, bang, bang. That's the only way to get him through customs, is to shoot him. Bang! And then, sometimes we disguise him as a handbag. Handbag. That's it, Henry. All right. Now, when he doesn't like the customs man, you know what he does? He pokes his tongue out. Poke your tongue out. Poke your tongue out. Poke your tongue out. Okay. Now, shake hands. Shake hands with the customs man. Shake hands. Shake hands. Now let's see if Henry will do his astronaut trick. Sometimes he wants to be the...
I don't believe that.
According to Alderman McNaughton, the admission fee has nothing to do with the $1.4 million shortfall in the reconstruction costs for the old brewery building. He says it will simply go part of the way towards running the museum.
An admission fee was always my understanding that there would be to offset part of the operating costs of the museum.
But the ratepayers will have to pay the rest.
Yes, there's always been understood that there would be a shortfall. It's not necessarily the ratepayers who have to pay. I'm hoping that we can get some sort of government funding for that sort of thing, and I think we might.
One decision the council is expected to make soon is what it will do with the Tuggerah Lakes Military Museum collection. After paying $500,000 for it in November '84, the administrator Cole Saunders mothballed it until a decision was made on what to do with it. The Lord Mayor says he's still toying with ideas, but it definitely won't be housed in the regional museum.
I've only recently, in the last few days, read a report about it. I must say I'm impressed with what there is in that collection. It's a most impressive list when you read through what is in the military collection. And I'm formulating a few ideas about what we might do with it, ranging from selling it as it stands, selling it as individual lots, arranging to get it partly on display, seeing if we can get sufficient community interest in it to have it taken over by volunteers, a whole range of things.
For children with disabilities, the state education system provides special teaching and assistance. But once a young person reaches the age of 18, that care and attention suddenly stops. The disabled are expected to have reached a certain level of independence and social skill in that time. For the physically handicapped, much is being done, but the intellectually handicapped are often neglected. Today's seminar at Belmont was attended by worried parents who don't want their children put in an institution but still need help in caring for their child. The seminar praised the Richmond concept of special homes for the handicapped, but stated that it falls short in providing resources for families who care for their children at home.
Many parents have chosen to keep their children at home, and now they're finding that they're disadvantaged because the young people who are going into the Richmond homes are children from or young people from institutions.
So the group today is calling for some help for those people who are disadvantaged?
Yes, it's calling for some help for those people who are disadvantaged, who have stayed at home, and for the parents of those children who have chosen to keep their children at home within the family circle.
Good, that's fine. Thank you. With the amount of fresh fruit and vegetables being sold on the decline, retailers in Newcastle have decided to fight back. The plan is to conduct an advertising and promotional campaign to be financed by the retailers and the wholesalers. In all, it's hoped the committee, which is to be elected this morning, should have an annual budget of around $400,000 to work with. The campaign is the first of its kind in New South Wales, and the Managing Director of the Sydney Marketing Authority, John Dermody, believes that because the Newcastle retailers are so close-knit, it will be successful.
The fruit side of things is competing with the snack foods, and the snack food people, as we all know, are very keen marketers. A lot of money goes into promotion, and we need to be able to pull back some of that market share.
How can you entice people to eat more fruit and vegetables?
Well, it is a marvellous product to promote. It looks good, tastes good, it's good for you, and so all we really have to do is to let people know the ways in which to use the product, how to store the product and get the best value for their dollar.
At the Newcastle Chamber of Commerce mini-budget breakfast, some of the businessmen believe the government could have gone further to reduce the trade deficit. But on the whole, the mood was...
They're doing the right thing, whether it's too little, too late or whatever.
Bernie Toohill, an economics lecturer at Newcastle University, says the mini-budget had political as well as economic aims.
I think it probably was as much as could have been expected from the government. They've certainly reduced the size of the deficit. They've reduced their own expenditure to some degree, although the main, shall we say, areas hit are not so much the federal levels but the state levels.
Another controversial part of Mr Keating's mini-budget is the decision to cut dole payments to 16 and 17-year-olds and replace it with a $25 a week job-seeking allowance. Trades Hall Secretary Peter Barrack is against the move.
Well, we believe it's a cynical exercise in that it's obviously a political statement that 16 and 17-year-olds don't vote.
Ted Monaghan from the Newcastle Youth Service applauds the government's move and says it will encourage young people to stay at school. He says there will be casualties, but there's the Homeless Youth Allowance and study to help those who need it. Regional Director of Education Alan Beard also believes the dole cut will help reverse the trend from leaving to staying at school.
I hope that this new policy will in fact even things out a bit so that there'll be less encouragement to leave school and maybe therefore more encouragement to stay on and get more education, which we all know they need these days.
The community employment program is to be cut and replaced by a number of training programs, a move that the Wabakal Co-op regrets. Restoration of the co-op building was one of 8,600 jobs done under CEP in New South Wales.
One of the things that it has done for us is provided a form of training for our people and also for the young that have come here to the co-op and have got some skills in work.
But what does the person on the street think?
It's fairly tough on welfare, I think.
So you don't think it's going to make much difference?
Well, I think it's going to take a lot of sorting out. I think they've got themselves into a mess and I think they've got to get out of it, really. I don't know who's going to help them either.
There's also a move to cut the dole for 16 and 17-year-olds. Are you in favour of that?
Yes, definitely. I think a little bit more incentive for young ones to earn something of their own. I think this is a sad state of affairs with the young ones today.
When I finish the HSC, I'll still be only 17, and so, you know, if you can't get a job or anything, it makes it hard there.
Sir Joe has a busy schedule ahead of him, starting with a Joe for Australia rally in Civic Park at midday. The Queensland Premier is coming to Newcastle as the guest of a group called the Small Business People. The group has strongly defended its actions amidst union allegations that the visit is provocative. It says it issued the invitation long before the introduction of Queensland's strong anti-strike legislation. It is so unpopular with the union movement that some unions are planning an anti-Joe demonstration to coincide with the rally. Sir Joe will also visit Maitland and will meet with local members of the National Party before his departure mid-morning tomorrow.
Track is unique in New South Wales, as the hill is a tight twisting circuit, competed up and down. Last year's record of 30.4 seconds is now the mark that this year's competitors will be trying to beat. That record was set by Dwayne Wilson in a Formula Libra Bowen. There are a number to watch, including John Davies in Rob Kawasaki Formula Libra, who'll be trying to better the 30.69 he recorded last year. Another standout is Ernst Shackleton of Sydney, who was the 79 and 80 national champion. Ray Goodman of Mount Pritchard is another to watch, and yet another Formula Libra with 3 first and a second placing to date. Of the home drivers, Dave Wrightson of Pit Crew fame is currently leading Group B in his Mini Cooper S. Barry Noble is enjoying things in the VW Beetle, and Peter Copeland in the Mazda RX-7 is another who should go well on the home hill. The day starts at 10 a.m.
Still being separated from the family.